Have you ever had that really quiet, kind of unshakable suspicion that the world you see and touch isn't the whole story?
Oh, I think everyone has that feeling at some point.
Right. It's just this strange sensation, like you're sitting in traffic, or maybe you're just washing the dishes or staring up at the ceiling in the middle of the night, and suddenly you get this profound, almost physical feeling that reality is somehow, I don't know, thinner than it appears.
Yeah, like there's something just behind it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you're looking at this super high definition movie screen, but if you just, shifted your focus slightly, you could perceive the raw canvas right behind this projection.
It's a very common human experience, honestly.
It is. And, well, Arga Togu's book, The Exo-Universe, argues that this feeling isn't just some weird glitch in your brain.
No, not at all, according to him.
Right. He says it's actually a symptom of a massive multidimensional blindfold. Togu claims we have a completely fatal misunderstanding of our own biology.
He really does. We tend to treat our eyes, our ears, our tactile nerves as these wide open windows that just let reality pour in.
But they aren't windows.
No, Togu posits they're highly restrictive filters. Like their primary biological function is actually to keep the vast, overwhelming majority of reality out.
Which sounds counterintuitive until you really think about it.
Right, because if you think about it from a purely evolutionary standpoint, an organism only needs to perceive the exact sliver of reality required to survive and reproduce.
Right. I mean, you don't need to see the matrix to find a berry to eat.
Exactly. Take a tick, for instance. A tick perceives reality almost entirely through temperature and the smell of butyric acid.
Gross, but yeah.
Right. But that is its entire universe. It doesn't know about stars. It doesn't know about poetry or the color blue.
It is entirely blind to like 99.9% of existence.
And Togu argues that humans are in the exact same position, just on a, slightly more complex scale.
Okay, let's unpack this. Think of your senses like an old school radio receiver.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Yeah, like a radio that is permanently glued to a single AM station. So you're sitting in your living room, and that AM station is playing loud and clear.
And because it's all you've ever heard, it feels like that's the only sound in the world.
Exactly. But right there, in the exact same physical space of your living room, there are FM stations, satellite radio signals, Wi-Fi frequencies.
Cellular data, television broadcasts.
Yes, an absolute chaotic symphony of information flowing right through the space around you and literally right through your body.
But just because your little AM radio receiver isn't equipped to translate those frequencies into audio, that doesn't mean the room is empty.
Right. And the crazy thing is, the physics of our own universe already prove this.
They do.
Yeah.
I mean, the human eye only perceives the visible light spectrum,
which is just a microscopic fraction of the total electromagnetic spectrum.
You are currently sitting in a room bathed in gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet, infrared, microwaves.
But you don't see them. You don't feel them. So to you, they don't exist.
And Togu takes this accepted biological limitation and he elevates it to a full cosmological principle.
He states that the vast majority of reality, like conscious entities, parallel dimensions, complex ethereal energies, exists all around us, all the time, completely unnoticed.
We are basically wearing a biological blindfold that we stubbornly mistake for total, absolute vision.
Which naturally brings us to the scientific method.
Ah, yes. The lantern.
Right, because if our senses are fundamentally flawed, limited instruments, then the tools we build to extend those senses, telescopes, microscopes, particle accelerators.
Just slightly better AM radios.
Exactly. They are still attuned to the exact same physical realm. Togu calls human science a lantern in a vast night.
I love that phrase. It illuminates a tiny, tiny circle of measurable, repeatable physical phenomena, but out beyond the light of the lantern.
Science is essentially useless.
Yeah, the problem arises when humanity begins to equate the word measurable with the word real.
Because over the last few centuries, we have adopted this philosophy of strict materialism.
Right. If an instrument cannot detect it, if an experiment cannot isolate it and repeat it,
we just dismiss it as an anomaly or a hallucination or mere imagination.
And Togu suggests that this physical world, the realm of atoms, gravity, thermodynamics, the stuff science excels at measuring.
It isn't the foundational bedrock of existence.
No, it is actually the outermost, densest, most rigid, and perhaps least significant shell of reality.
Okay, but wait, let me push back on this a bit.
Oh, for it.
If we just toss out the scientific method because it's only a lantern, aren't we risking total irrationality? Like, aren't we giving ourselves a blank check to believe any wild fantasy?
That's a very fair point.
Right. If we step out of the lantern's light and rely entirely on subjective perception or intuition, how do we differentiate between a genuine encounter with a higher reality and, say, a straightforward psychological delusion? Without science, how do we ground this theory?
This raises an important question, and it's one Togu actually addresses. He doesn't suggest throwing the lantern away at all.
Oh, he doesn't.
No. Science is a magnificent, perfectly tuned tool for navigating the physical shell. The big mistake we make is a category error.
Meaning what? Exactly.
Meaning, we are attempting to use a tool designed for dense matter to measure ethereal consciousness.
It's fair.
Well, you wouldn't use a sophisticated electron microscope to find the deeper meaning of a poem.
Right, that would be absurd.
And you wouldn't use a thermometer to measure the intensity of a mother's love for her child.
Okay, I see. The instrument is simply incompatible with the subject.
Exactly. So to navigate what Togu calls the Exo-Universe, you have to utilize the proper instruments.
And what are those?
He identifies them as trained intuition, directed intention, and a state of pure presence. You don't abandon reason, you just expand your sensory toolkit beyond the limitations of our dense biology.
Okay, so if our physical senses are this tight, narrow filter keeping most of reality out, what exactly are they filtering?
That is the big question.
Yeah, if we could take the blindfold off, what is the actual structure of this Exo-Universe buzzing around us?
Well, Togu outlines a truly staggering hierarchy. And at the absolute foundation of all existence are what he calls the ethereal realities.
And we should clarify, these are not places.
No, it's vital to understand that you cannot chart them on a star map. They are limitless, boundless oceans of pure awareness.
So in the ethereal, there is no physical matter.
None. There are no atoms. There's no distance to traverse. And most importantly, there is no linear time.
Wrap your head around that. No time.
Right. Beings in these realms do not possess bodies. They exist as pure, localized nodes of presence.
So how do they even communicate?
Not through sequential language, like we're doing right now. It's instantaneous transfers of intention and concept. It is a state of expansive, frictionless equilibrium.
Trying to conceptualize a reality without time and space is... it's like trying to imagine a new primary color.
Our brains literally aren't wired for it.
They really aren't.
That's right.
But inside this infinite ethereal ocean, Togu says there are these anomalies.
Yes, the physical realities.
Oh, our universe.
And he makes a very distinct point here, which is central to everything. Physical worlds are not natural phenomena.
They are engineered.
They are. The physical realities are dense, heavy, artificial constructs suspended within the ethereal ocean.
Like bubbles.
Yes. And in these constructed bubbles, consciousness undergoes a violent compression.
It gets shoved into a box.
It's forced into physical forms biology. Suddenly, space is introduced, which creates physical separation between beings.
I am over here, you are over there.
Right. And time is introduced. Time is forced to march relentlessly in a straight line from past to future, creating the concepts of decay, aging, and finite existence.
Okay, let's build a metaphor to carry us through this, because the scale is just huge.
It helps to visualize it, definitely.
So imagine a vast, infinitely deep, perfectly calm, luminous ocean. That is the ethereal.
No pressure, no gravity, just peaceful suspension.
Right. Now imagine an entity comes along and blows a massive, incredibly heavy glass bubble.
Okay.
And inside this bubble, they dump dense sand, sharp rocks, shifting weather systems, and millions of ticking clocks.
Wow. Okay.
Then they sink that heavy glass bubble deep down into the peaceful ocean. You and I, human beings, we live inside that sand-filled glass bubble.
That is a powerful image.
We are so consumed by the friction of the sand, the weight of the gravity, and the constant deafening ticking of the clocks that we are entirely oblivious to the silent, infinite water pressing right up against the outside of the glass.
That analogy perfectly captures the profound claustrophobia inherent in Togu's vision of our world. We are trapped in the bubble, absolutely convinced that the sand and the clocks are the sum total of existence.
But travel between these realities is possible, right?
Yes, but here's a critical mechanism. Togu explains that moving from the heavy sand of the bubble out into the ethereal ocean is not a spatial journey.
You can't just build a spaceship.
No, it is not about building a rocket ship and flying millions of light years to the edge of the universe. Distance is just a localized illusion of the bubble.
So how do you travel?
True travel in the universe is entirely about vibration.
Ah, Like tuning the dial on that AM radio we talked about to catch a different frequency?
Yes, exactly. Everything in existence, from a rock to an ethereal being, possesses a fundamental resonant frequency.
Okay.
If a being shifts its internal frequency, its vibration, the reality it experiences fundamentally changes.
So if you raise your vibration high enough,
The heavy sand of the physical world simply dissolves around you, and the ethereal ocean becomes apparent. You haven't moved an inch in physical space. You have just shifted your perceptual frequency out of phase with the dense matter.
that's wild. And Togu insists that human consciousness naturally possesses this ability.
At its core, yes, but the dense architecture of the biological body acts as an anchor. It's a governor that actively suppresses that vibrational shifting.
Which brings up a really, really unsettling question.
The why.
Yes. If this physical bubble is an engineered artificial construct, why? Why would anyone build a dense, restrictive glass bubble, compress ancient, expansive consciousness into clumsy biological meat suits, and trap us inside with ticking clocks and a sensory blindfold?
What is the point of the sand?
Exactly. What is the point of the sand?
This is where Togu introduces the dark functional purpose of the physical world. Earth and the physical realm at large were engineered by what he terms the dark forces.
Now, wait, we need to strip away the cartoonish, mustache-twirling villain imagery here, right?
Yes, absolutely. These are not guys in black capes rubbing their hands together.
Right.
These are ancient conscious entities who have drifted so far from the ethereal ocean, so far from the fundamental resonance of unity, that they have forgotten it entirely.
They exist in this self-inflicted state of absolute separation.
And extreme energetic scarcity.
They are starving.
Yes, they are starving. And so they built a farm.
A farm. Here's where it gets really interesting and honestly kind of scary.
Kogu's logic here is chillingly mechanical. The equation goes exactly like this. Limitation creates struggle.
Okay.
Struggle creates intense emotion. And emotion creates energy.
It is a literal economy of suffering.
Exactly. In the ethereal realms, energy is infinite. It's ambient and it's shared in perfect unity. But in the realms of separation, where these dark forces reside, energy must be actively consumed to survive.
They have to eat.
And they discover that the raw stuff of the human soul, which is the spark of that infinite ethereal ocean, is an unbelievably potent, radiant source of power.
But you can't just harvest energy from a soul that is resting peacefully.
Oh, because a soul in unified equilibrium generates no friction. To extract the energy, you have to agitate the soul. You have to subject it to fear, desire, conflict, heartbreak, physical pain.
So they built the ultimate agitation machine.
That's all worlds.
Right. Think about a standard human Tuesday.
Oh, this is a great way to look at it.
You wake up to a blaring alarm, a micro stressor. You sit in dense traffic, generating frustration.
You worry about your bank account, generating anxiety.
You read the news, generating political outrage. You experience the slow existential dread of your body aging.
And every single one of those emotional spikes is friction.
We view these things as just life. It's just what happens. But Togu is saying, if you zoom out, we are living in a cosmic hydroelectric dam.
That's it, exactly. Just as a dam uses gravity to pull water down and spin turbines to generate electricity.
This physical bubble uses limitation and suffering to spin our emotional turbines.
Generating energetic output that these dark entities siphon off to sustain themselves.
It's crazy. The physical world is perfectly optimized for this extraction. Disease, violence, artificial scarcity, the grief of losing loved ones.
Even the fleeting nature of physical pleasure, which constantly leaves us hungering for more.
Yes. It is all meticulously designed to generate maximum emotional friction.
We believe we are living these grand, independent, self-directed lives. But in Togu's framework, we are running on a highly sophisticated hamster wheel wired directly into the grid of the dark forces.
But how did we get on the wheel? I mean, if we are these ancient, powerful sparks of the ethereal ocean, how did we end up compressed into biological bodies in a battery farm?
Did we lose a cosmic war?
Right. Did we?
Actually, no. Togu refers to this transition as the descent. And crucially, he frames it neither as a dramatic defeat in battle, nor as a punishment from an angry deity.
It wasn't like getting cast out of heaven.
No, it was a gradual, almost imperceptible forgetting.
Or forgetting.
It began with curiosity. Ancient souls, existing in the boundless equilibrium of the ethereal, became curious about lower, denser vibrations.
They just wanted to see what it felt like.
Right. They lowered their frequency just to experience the sensation of density. But that simple act of lowering vibration created a subtle sense of separation from the whole.
And separation inevitably births the concept of identity.
The idea of an I that is distinct from a you.
And the second you have an I and a you have the potential for conflict. You have the potential to want something the other has.
Exactly, the progression Togu outlines. As their vibration continued to lower, drawn by the novelty of dense experience, these souls became ensnared in the gravitational pull of the engineered physical world.
They sunk into the mud.
The deeper they sank into the density, the more their vast consciousness compressed, until they were fully enveloped in biological bodies.
And the trauma of that compression, combined with the biological blindfold of the physical senses,
It caused a profound amnesia. They forgot the ethereal ocean entirely. They forgot they were infinite.
they believed they were merely the biological bodies they inhabited.
And the moment they forgot, the dark forces locked the doors of the farm.
Okay, look, I have to step back here for a second.
It's a lot, I know.
It is, because my immediate visceral reaction to this is that it's incredibly bleak.
Oh, absolutely.
It feels like a profoundly pessimistic view of human existence. It takes the entirety of human history, our art, our philosophical triumphs, the Renaissance, the moon landing, and even our deepest, most intimate sufferings, and reduces all of it to mere food for invisible, interdimensional parasites.
It turns the tragedy of the human condition
Yeah.
into an industrial process.
Exactly. Isn't this just deeply depressing?
It is a dark premise, without question. It strips away all the romanticism we assign to our struggles. However, Togu embeds an immensely empowering counter-narrative within this very bleakness.
Empowering. How?
The system is predatory, yes,
Yeah.
it is a farm. But consider why the farm exists in the first place.
Okay.
It only exists because the human soul is inherently unimaginably powerful.
Oh, wow.
The dark forces had to construct this unbelievably complex, multi-layered, heavily fortified physical matrix just to contain you. If human consciousness weren't a massive radiant generator of divine energy, they wouldn't have bothered building the prison.
We aren't just pathetic victims, we are captive nuclear reactors.
Precisely the implication. The tragedy of humanity, in Togu's eyes, is not that we are weak, helpless creatures at the mercy of the universe. The tragedy is that we are immensely powerful, sovereign beings suffering from profound amnesia, allowing our power to be siphoned by lesser entities.
That does flip it around. If Earth is this highly contested, incredibly lucrative energy farm pumping out massive amounts of power, it stands to reason that it attracts a lot of attention.
A lot of attention.
We can't be the only ones walking around inside this glass bubble.
We are far from alone. Togu characterizes Earth not as an isolated rock floating in a dead vacuum, but as a vibrant, incredibly chaotic, multidimensional habitat.
A cosmic crossroads.
Exactly. Because reality is layered entirely via vibration, an infinite number of entities share this exact physical coordinate with us, simultaneously operating at different frequencies.
But Togu emphasizes one unifying fundamental principle here, right?
Yes. All beings, from the most parasitic dark force to the most radiant ethereal guide, share one singular essence: consciousness.
So the only differentiator between any of us is the vibrational frequency of that consciousness.
That's it.
Okay, let's categorize the traffic at this cosmic crossroads. Who is mingling with us in the bubble?
Let's break it down. First, Togu talks about spirits.
And he makes a point to clarify, these aren't necessarily demons or poltergeists in the Hollywood sense.
No, he describes them as displaced, unanchored human souls.
So humans who have died.
Yes, spirits are essentially humans who have lost their physical bodies through death, but due to intense confusion, trauma, or deep attachment to the dense emotions of the physical world.
Things like addiction, rage, or profound grief.
Exactly. Because of those attachments, they haven't shifted their vibration high enough to return to the ethereal ocean.
So they just hang around.
They remain caught in the gravitational pull of the physical realm, lingering in the background frequency, observing, sometimes interacting, but largely stuck in a localized loop.
Okay. Then you have angels.
Now, in Togu's framework, angels are absolutely not winged humans playing harps on clouds.
Right. They're emissaries of pure unity.
Their vibration is incredibly high, meaning they are fully conscious of the ethereal ocean. But Togu outlines a very strict operational protocol for angels.
Which is...
They operate exclusively via resonance, never dominance.
This is a crucial distinction.
It really is. Higher ethereal beings respect the fundamental unbreakable law of the Exo-Universe: free will.
They will never force a human to do anything.
They will never manipulate a situation to save you against your will. because imposing their will upon yours, even for your own good, would be an act of dominance.
Which is a low vibrational action.
Right. They only intervene when consciously, explicitly invited.
So how do they help?
Their method of guidance is simply to emit a pure, high frequency of love and unity. They offer that frequency like a tuning fork,
Providing an opportunity for the human soul to recognize it, match it, and elevate its own vibration.
Exactly. They guide by resonance, not by control.
And then there is the extraterrestrial element. Togu says that aliens are simply non-human intelligences, and the diversity here is just staggering.
It is. Some are physical beings traveling in actual nuts and bolts ships across the dense universe. Some are interdimensional, slipping between the layers of the bubble.
And their agendas are completely varied.
Completely. Some are scientists conducting observational studies. Some are predatory, actively manipulating events to harvest the energy we generate.
And some are just tourists passing through the crossroads.
Which brings us to a fascinating reinterpretation of human history and anthropology.
Oh, this part blew my mind.
Imagine early primitive humans encountering these various beings. An ancient tribe sees a radiant, interdimensional angel manifesting in the sky. Or they encounter a physical extraterrestrial craft landing in a field.
These early humans did not possess the conceptual vocabulary we have today.
No. They didn't know the words frequency, interdimensional, or extraterrestrial.
So they had to filter these profound, terrifying encounters through the narrow lens of their early culture, their understanding of nature, and primarily their fear.
It's the ultimate game of cosmic telephone.
A luminous, high-vibrating entity appears, and ancient humans say, well, it's bright and it came from the sky, it must be the sun god.
Or a hostile energy-harvesting entity manipulates local weather patterns to terrorize a population.
And they label it a thunder deity demanding blood sacrifices to appease its wrath.
Togu suggests that the sprawling, contradictory pantheons of ancient gods, the Greek, the Egyptian, the Mesopotamian—
They weren't just campfire myths invented to explain the rain.
Right. They were literal, albeit deeply misunderstood, encounters with these various visitors to the energy farm.
And the immense diversity and often petty, vindictive behavior of these ancient gods perfectly reflects the diversity and varying agendas of the Exo-Universe visitors.
Because a being demanding a blood sacrifice is clearly a low vibrational entity feeding on the terror and pain of the sacrifice.
But this historical misunderstanding leads directly to Togu's definition of the ultimate creator.
Yes, in this framework, God is absolutely, unequivocally not a localized being.
God is not a patriarchal figure sitting on a throne, keeping a ledger of your sins and virtues.
Not at all. Togu defines God simply as unity.
Just unity.
Yes. God is the highest possible vibration. It is the purest state of equilibrium,
It is the entirety of the ethereal ocean itself.
where all individuality, all separation, and all conflict dissolve into perfect harmony. God isn't a person you petition for favors. God is the fundamental state of reality.
It is the baseline frequency of existence that you naturally, inevitably return to when you strip away the dense vibrations of fear and identity.
Okay, let's take inventory of the situation humans are in, according to this theory.
It's quite a situation.
We have powerful, amnesiac souls trapped inside an artificial, heavy glass bubble. We are being constantly agitated to generate emotional energy for dark forces who feed on our suffering.
And the good guys, the angels and beings of unity, absolutely refuse to violate our free will to break the glass and rescue us.
Meanwhile, the dark forces are constantly deceiving us to keep us running on the hamster wheel.
So, if the system is this perfectly sealed, how does anyone ever get out?
Well, it was a perfectly sealed system. The architecture of the energy farm was flawless. Until, according to Togu, a systemic, unprecedented hack occurred.
And this brings us to what is undoubtedly the most provocative, historically controversial, and fascinating part of the entire text.
Togu offers a complete, radical recontextualization of the life, purpose, and death of Jesus of Nazareth.
We are definitely keeping our objective explorer hats on for this.
Absolutely. So Togu posits that Jesus was not a human prophet attempting to reform Judaism or start a new terrestrial religion.
Nor was he the son of an angry, bloodthirsty god sent down to be a physical sacrifice to appease a legalistic debt of human sin.
Togu claims Jesus was an infiltration.
An infiltration.
Consider the architectural problem of the physical bubble. It is a closed loop of dense, heavy vibration. The souls trapped inside have forgotten how to elevate their frequency.
And the higher ethereal beings cannot shatter the glass bubble from the outside to free them.
because doing so would forcibly alter the reality of the inhabitants, violating the universal law of free will.
So therefore, the only conceivable way to break the system was from the inside out.
A being of absolute pure unity had to deliberately enter the physical matrix.
We've been using the ocean and the glass bubble metaphor, so let's stick with it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Imagine the bubble is buried under miles of crushing ocean pressure. The dark forces are the wardens inside the bubble.
Jesus, in this framework, is like a specialized deep-sea diver from the ethereal ocean.
He deliberately allows himself to be injected into the heavy, dense sand of the bubble.
He takes on a biological body, the heavy diving suit.
He subjects himself to the biological blindfold, the ticking clocks, and the intense gravity of the physical realm.
And here is the critical mechanical function of his infiltration.
He had to subject himself to the absolute worst the system had to offer.
He had to experience intense physical suffering, betrayal by his closest friends, public humiliation, the terror of impending death, and finally, a brutal execution.
Because these are the ultimate generators of dark energy. This is the maximum friction the farm can produce.
But the hack is how he responded to it.
Exactly the point. He endured the maximum density of the physical matrix without lowering his vibration.
Wow.
He experienced the ultimate catalyst for hatred, fear, and resentment, but he refused to generate those low-frequency emotions in return.
Even as he was being executed, he maintained the pure, resonant frequency of absolute unity and forgiveness.
And by incarnating, suffering, and dying while holding that uncorrupted frequency, he achieved something structurally impossible within the engineered matrix.
He didn't just hack a server. He equalized the pressure of the bubble.
He endured the crushing depth without his core collapsing.
And by doing that, Togu says, the energetic event of his life and his resurrection literally shattered the artificial architecture of the realm.
He blew a hole in the roof of the battery farm.
He created a decompression valve, a permanent vibrational pathway, a channel, straight out of the dense physical bubble and back into the ethereal ocean of unity.
He left a back door wide open for every other soul to escape.
It completely transforms the crucifixion from a story of appeasing divine wrath into a story of cosmic sabotage.
Jesus was the Trojan horse. He allowed the dark forces to consume him, but his frequency was so pure, so high, that it acted like a virus within their system, breaking the closed loop of the energy harvesting matrix permanently.
Which begs the question, what does this mean for people practicing traditional religions today?
That's a huge question.
Does Togu think the billions of people sitting in pews, praying, and taking communion are just totally deluded? Does he think traditional religion is a fake construct?
Not at all. In fact, Togu deeply validates the core practices of religion, but he completely shifts the mechanics of why they work.
How so?
He doesn't view rituals, deep prayer, or genuine faith as mere symbolic acts, cultural traditions, or moral duties required to please a distant god.
He views them as literal, applied vibrational tools.
Exactly. It's energetic physics.
So when a person engages in deep, loving prayer, they aren't sending a vocal text message up into the sky hoping an old man hears it.
No, they are actively tuning their internal frequency.
They are twisting the dial on their radio to resonate with the specific escape channel that Jesus carved through the density.
The rituals work because they tap into that residual vibration of unity left behind in the matrix.
The battle for the human soul, therefore, is not about adhering to the correct historical dogma or winning theological arguments.
It is purely vibrational.
Every act of genuine love elevates your frequency, aligning you with the escape hatch.
Every act of hatred, judgment, or fear lowers your frequency, anchoring you deeper into the dense mud of the battery farm.
Spiritual warfare isn't fought with swords against demons. It is the moment-to-moment physics of where you direct your consciousness.
So the back door is open.
The decompression valve is functioning.
But having an open door doesn't guarantee people will walk through it.
And this brings us to a deeply unsettling phase of the journey.
Because escaping the loop isn't as simple as just waiting out the clock until your physical body dies.
In fact, Togu suggests that the moment of physical death is where the ultimate, most insidious trick of the dark forces is played.
Think about it. If you are the dark entities running the energy farm and someone has just blown the doors off the hinges, you have a massive containment breach.
You have to implement emergency crowd control.
But remember the fundamental law. You cannot force the souls to stay. You cannot violate free will.
The souls must choose to remain in the battery farm.
So you have to trick them into giving their consent.
And according to Togu, that trick happens the moment we die.
When the physical body fails, the soul naturally rises. It sheds the dense, heavy diving suit of matter.
But before it can fully ascend back to the ethereal ocean, it encounters an architectural construct in the astral layer.
This construct is universally described in human near-death experiences,
It's the tunnel of light.
usually accompanied by the incredibly warm, welcoming faces of deceased family members, spirit guides, or religious figures.
This is where Togu flips modern spiritual assumptions completely upside down.
Completely. In most New Age philosophy, the tunnel of light is the ultimate comfort. It is the safe transition to the afterlife or heaven.
Togu claims this tunnel is an artificial projection.
It is a trap.
Deceptive entities, the wardens of the farm, desperate to maintain their energy source, mimic the appearance of your loved ones or familiar angels to disarm you in your most vulnerable, newly freed state.
What's terrifying here is how Togu weaponizes the concept of consent.
Because the dark forces cannot forcefully shove your soul back into a new infant body, they must persuade you to agree to return.
They use sophisticated psychological manipulation.
They project the image of your grandfather or a glowing guide who tells you, you did so well, but you have unresolved karma, you hurt someone in that life, and you need to go back to balance the scales.
Or they say, Earth still needs you. You have a mission to complete to help humanity awaken.
They use guilt, duty, and the illusion of cosmic debt to secure your agreement.
And the moment the soul says, okay, I will go back to finish my work, it is given as free will consent.
The memory of the ethereal is wiped clean again, and the soul is plunged right back into the dense physical realm for another cycle of suffering and energy extraction.
In this view, reincarnation is not a spiritual university where we slowly learn lessons over millennia.
It is a mechanism of control, a recycling program to keep the batteries in the farm.
It's horrifying.
Think about navigating your way out of a burning building. You finally make it through the smoke, you push open the emergency exit, you step outside, and a guy dressed perfectly as a firefighter puts his hand on your shoulder and says, actually, your dog is still back in the basement, you need to sign this waiver and run back inside.
That is exactly it.
It's signing a predatory lifetime contract because the salesperson had a really friendly smile and knew your name.
If you don't read the fine print, or in this case, if you don't sense the underlying vibration behind the smiling faces, you willingly volunteer for another tour of duty in the meat grinder.
The visual of a predatory contract is profoundly accurate. So how does a soul avoid the trap?
The difference between true ethereal guides and deceptive entities in the afterlife is entirely vibrational, not visual.
Because holograms and visuals can be easily faked.
But foundational frequency cannot. A true ethereal guide resonates with absolute liberating love. They do not demand anything. They do not induce guilt.
They simply encourage your continuous ascent back to unity.
While a deceiver subtly manipulates, they urge return, they speak of debts and obligations.
So to escape the loop, a soul must maintain extreme clarity.
It must actively remember its true infinite nature, pierce the visual illusion, flatly refuse the manipulation, and consciously choose to propel itself toward the frequency of unity.
Okay, let's pull ourselves out of the afterlife for a second, because that is heavy, anxiety-inducing stuff.
It is very heavy.
Let's ground this theory in the present moment. If the tunnel of light is a trap, and avoiding it requires us to maintain a high vibration and extreme clarity, what are the practical tools?
What are we supposed to do right now?
Right. Well, we are still very much stuck inside the physical glass bubble dealing with traffic and taxes.
Togu outlines what he calls the technologies of ascent. And I want to highlight his use of the word technologies.
He deliberately removes all the soft, moralistic, religious baggage from these concepts.
The ultimate destiny for all souls is what he calls the great return to the ethereal ocean of unity.
To achieve the frequency required for that return, you must utilize specific mechanical tools.
Those primary tools are love, forgiveness, compassion, and humility.
This is a massive paradigm shift.
It really is.
We usually treat things like forgiveness or humility as moral chores. You think, I have to forgive my coworker for stealing my idea because it's the right Christian or ethical thing to do, even though I'm still furious.
But Togu frames forgiveness as advanced cosmic physics. It's not about being a good person.
Precisely. Let's look at the mechanics of it. When you hold on to intense resentment or hatred towards someone, you are actively generating low-frequency, dense emotional energy.
You are generating the exact friction the farm feeds on.
Think of resentment as a literal physical weight, like carrying a lead block inside your chest. Every time you ruminate on the person who wronged you, you're adding mass to that block, increasing your energetic density.
You're anchoring yourself to the floor of the bubble.
Exactly. Forgiveness is not a favor you do for the person who wronged you. It is the specific cognitive mechanism that severs the gravitational tether to that lead block.
When you forgive, you drop the weight. You instantly lower your density and raise your frequency.
Compassion functions similarly. It expands your narrow, ego-driven awareness beyond your own identity, breaking down the illusion of separation.
And humility restores clarity by removing the constant exhausting defense of the ego, allowing you to see the interconnectedness of all things.
It's like discovering that being kind isn't just a nice social contract to keep civilization running smoothly.
Being kind is the literal aerodynamic shape your soul needs to take in order to fly out of the prison.
If your soul is jagged with anger, heavy with resentment, and bloated with ego, you simply won't fit through the decompression valve Jesus left open.
You will be too dense.
That is the core of the practical application.
And Togu ends the text on a note of profound cosmic optimism.
Which is nice after the hamster wheel stuff.
He suggests that these technologies of ascent are beginning to take hold on a massive collective scale.
He claims that the cycle of reincarnation, the tight, deceptive grip of the dark forces, is currently weakening.
The channels to unity carved into the matrix are widening. As more people practice these technologies, choosing forgiveness over friction, humanity's collective intuition is sharpening.
The biological blindfold is beginning to slip.
Which means human beings are transitioning from being a compliant power source to being an active threat to the establishment.
If the batteries inside the flashlight start realizing they are batteries and they collectively learn the physics of how to unhook themselves, the entire flashlight stops working.
The farm collapses.
This collective awakening actively threatens the entire energetic economy of the lower realms.
If we connect this to the geopolitical and social state of the world today, Togu's framework offers a fascinating lens.
It explains why Earth currently feels so chaotic, so heavily contested, and so polarized.
The architects of the physical realm are losing their grip, and their desperate attempts to generate fear and friction are escalating.
But the ultimate power does not lie with the wardens.
The power lies with the radiant souls who are finally remembering who they are and refusing to generate the friction.
What an absolute marathon of a theory.
It is a lot to take in.
Let's attempt a quick recap of the journey we just took through Togu's mind. We started with the unsettling premise that our eyes, ears, and scientific instruments are just narrow biological blindfolds, filtering out a vast, infinite ocean of reality.
We discovered that our physical universe might not be a natural occurrence, but rather a heavy, engineered glass bubble sunk into that ethereal ocean.
We examined the sobering mechanical concept that the entirety of human suffering and drama is the intended friction of an interdimensional energy farm, driven by desperate beings who have forgotten unity.
We explored a multidimensional Earth populated by displaced spirits, resonant angels, and various extraterrestrials, all interpreted by ancient, frightened humans as pantheons of demanding gods.
We looked at the incredibly provocative theory of Jesus not as a religious founder demanding worship, but as a cosmic deep-sea diver who infiltrated the crushing pressure of the system to blow open an escape route.
We navigated the terrifying idea that the afterlife's tunnel of light is a deceptive, holographic trap designed to secure our consent for endless reincarnation.
And finally, we arrived at the profound realization that love, forgiveness, and compassion are not just nice ethical ideas, but the literal, applied physics, the aerodynamic technologies required for our great escape back to the ocean of unity.
Regardless of whether a reader views Togu's The Exo-Universe as a literal, objective map of cosmology, or simply as a sprawling, profound, metaphorical framework for the human condition, its value is undeniable.
It forces a complete reevaluation of the power of human consciousness.
It entirely strips away our sense of victimhood. It takes the ultimate responsibility for our spiritual and energetic trajectory and places it squarely in our own hands.
The real battlefield isn't in the sky with alien armadas. It is intimately, quietly located within the daily choices of the human heart.
Every single act of love, every moment of genuine forgiveness strengthens the fabric of unity.
Every act of petty hate, every grudge held feeds the matrix of separation.
It makes every interaction you have today matter on a cosmic structural scale.
As we wrap up this massive deep dive into Arga Togu's architecture of reality, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over as you go back to the ticking clocks and the dense sand of your daily routine.
A provocative thought.
If Togu is right, and your physical senses are just a blindfold designed to keep you tethered to this dense reality, what is one small, completely unexplainable intuition or coincidence you've brushed off recently?
Oh, that's a great question.
You know the phone rings and you inexplicably already know exactly who it is, or you get a sudden, overwhelming, irrational feeling to change your route to work and avoid an accident, or you feel a sudden wave of comfort in an empty room.
What if that wasn't just a biological glitch in your brain?
What if that was a whisper from the ethereal ocean, slipping past the blindfold, waiting for you to simply tune your dial to its frequency? Keep your eyes open, keep your vibration high, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.